What's up, everybody? I hope you're having a good afternoon. It got a little windy here yesterday. It knocked out our power for about 12 hours. It got really kind of chilly and everything. It was like 8 degrees outside with the wind. And I know with some people it's not that bad, but for us it was kind of startling. But we had the gas stove, and Anna turned them on and kept us on the warm side. And we stayed snuggled up and stayed inside. They finally got it on last night, about 11 o'clock last night. And thank goodness for these guys staying out there, staying dedicated to their job and getting us back on, or else it would have been a very, very cold night and a very, very cold morning. So as much as you might say about the electric company, but guys, we've got to send a heads up, a thumbs up or whatever you'll call it, hats off to the electric crews, the line crews that keep us in power during these emergency times and everything. So thanks for that. And one other word of note about the weather, guys. It's nice and cold out there, guys. Be safe. Stay inside as much as possible. We have a friend of ours. The channel's one of the guys of their channel. He's been with following me for a long time. Me and him's been buddies for a very long time. Is Eric, the Last Resort. He lives in Wisconsin, guys, and he's facing some mighty cold hardships right now in his situation. So we like to keep him in mind, keep him in our thoughts and our prayers and well wishes. And if you get a chance, go to his channel. It's The Last Resort 1331, I think it is, on YouTube. And give him a like, subscribe, or whatever, and thumbs up and everything. And leave some comments, encouraging comments for him. I think he would appreciate that very much. Where he's at, guys, it's very cold, and it's kind of rough for him. So anyway, the other day, I made a video about the population density, how the consensus lays out according to racial representation. And evidently some people took it the wrong way or misunderstood what I was saying. But I was talking about the idea of democracy is the majority rules. And I was showing how the population density and the due representation of each of these populations is not represented in our society or our governments or anything else like that, guys. It's kind of leaning out of whack for what the density of population is according to race or national origin. So, that was kind of my point and everything, how these things kind of went sideways with what we're supposed to be doing and everything, what we're supposed to be representing. Now, I'm not trying to be a racial pushing, race biting or anything else like that. That's not my point. But I was showing the guys that we have gone far away from the idea of a democracy, so far away that we don't even recognize it anymore. It's not even in our vocabulary really anymore, except for making inflammatory statements and everything against one side or the other. So democracy is non-existent. It's almost non-existent in this idea. We have a bunch of entitled people on there and hollering they want their different flavor of ice cream. We got the between 350 and 400 million people in the United States right now, and almost every one of them wants a different flavor of ice cream, and they all think they should be recognized as having their demands met. So anyway, our government, one thing, guys, in our White House and staffing of the White House and other things like that, the people that work at the White House and other buildings in D.C., they do represent the racial density disbursement of the United States, whereas so much population is represented for each race that's in the United States, accordingly by their percentage. So each one of them, so out of say 100 people, X amount, say Caucasians, is 64% represented. That's how many people is hired. Out of those 164 of them will be white. 13 will be black. 19 will be Hispanic or Latino, and so forth and so on. Exactly how the population is represented in percentages. So they try to keep this even like that. So a lot of guys got the wrong, and they think I was trying to maybe be race biting or race hating or anything like that, but it's not the truth. In fact, guys, one of the things, we get misrepresented, misideas about where the African American peoples of the United States come from. And yes, way down the line, they were from Africa at one time. But the ones we have here in the United States, for the most part, 80% or maybe a little bit less, 75%, 70% even, is represented by people that came from the Caribbean, from Haiti, El Salvador, Cuba, and places like this, guys, were traders free traders, pirates, and everything else like that, instead of crossing across the way big old ocean from one side of the world to the other, they just went down south a little bit, loaded up with a few things, and brought them back north. And they tried to tell us that they bring these people with these long journeys which people could die on because they didn't have water, no restroom, no bathroom facilities or anything like that, no food, and things like that. You know, these people would die on these weeks-long journeys, but instead they would hop up and down the coast, stopping in, getting fresh supplies, fresh water, and et cetera, picking up more and more as they went northward to trade the goods, which was the slaves. At one time, guys, but so we wonder, how did these people get to the Caribbean? Well, guys, at one time, Africa was a kick-ass country. They sailed the world. They sailed the waters of the ocean. They was a rival for Atlantis at one time. Y'all don't know this, but at one time, the Queen of England went there and knelt at the throne of the King and Queen of Africa. African nation, if you want to put them all as a nation, was there before the words represented the time era represented by in the beginning. They were the people that were there that Cain was afraid to be shown out to, tattooed and marked, so they would think him as a murderer and kill him. Those were the people he was afraid of, guys. That was the nation of Africa. They were there before Adam and Eve. And that's another story right there we can get into and tell all about it and everything, guys. But Africa used to be a kick-ass nation. They sailed the waters of the world. So it brings into wonder who actually did what, when, and where. Our narrative has been taken away from us and everything. But the reason I'm talking about this, guys, is because in the time before Adam and Eve, we had just came out of a time period they called the Younger Dryas period, which is around 12,000 years BC, 12,500 or so BC. At the time of Adam and Eve, represented by the words in the beginning, was around 8,040 to 8,400 years BC. Noah was around 4,500 years BC. Noah. And then the Exodus was around 2,500 years BC. These numbers make a difference, guys, because we face certain cataclysmic periods every so often. The Younger Dryas period started around, what happened around 12,500 years BC, and it ended around 9,500 years BC. And of course, in the beginning was around 8,400 years BC. So you kind of understand how this time frame breaks down, guys, that we had this cataclysmic event called the Younger Dryas period, where pretty much everything on Earth was wiped out. It was a life-ending event, a extinction level event is what they call it also. Similar to what they told us Fukushima it was, and all these volcanoes going off, they're life-ending events, or could be possibility. This was an actual life-ending event. And we go further forward to the flood of Noah. That is about the time of Nemesis, Nibiru passing through, approximately after that. And then the time of Noah, and then the time of Exodus was approximately 1,000 years after the flood. So that brings in a lot of questions about the timeline mentioned in the Bible. But here's the thing, guys. We already know that there is a 12,000 year cycle, approximately 12,000 years cataclysmic cycle that we face. There's also around a 3,600 year cycle called a Nemesis and Nibiru cycle that happens every so often. And then there's a cataclysmic event, maybe not a life-ending event, but damn near a life-ending event. So we got those. But there's another one. Someone named on YouTube named Two-Edged Sword turned me on to this and gave me some literature on it. But it is, it is a 120,000 year cycle. Light them if you got them. Smoke them if you got them. So anyway, guys, this 120,000 year cycle, guys, is one of the major life-ending events. And in fact, it's pretty much guaranteed that barely anything, if anything, microbes and things like that will survive these events like this. It's a life-ending, almost a world-ending event, if you will. And that's kind of wild thinking about this, guys, that every 120,000 years or so, every 12,000 years, and even 3,600 years, 4,000 years, there's cataclysmic events that is built into the rhythm or the pattern of the life cycle of Earth and the solar system. And the funny part about this is, guys, is that each of these in himself is dangerous and deadly. But when you combine one with another, like say the Nemesis system with something like the Younger Dryas thing happening, well, that's very bad. But here's the thing, guys. Right now, at this time frame in our life or in our life cycle of the Earth and the solar system, I think this is a once in a time thing that all three of these cycles are coming together approximately at the same time. The 3,600 year cycle, the 12,000 year cycle, and the 120,000 year cycle is coming together in the near future, simultaneously or maybe consecutively, but whatever. But there is guaranteed, guys, there will not be much of anything left alive on planet Earth after this. So while we fuss around which gender is what and who stands on the white podium or the big podium in the TV screen or who wears the pointy hat in Rome, well, we've got a little bit more serious things to consider, guys, is that we are reaching the end, possibly the end of all life ever on planet Earth. Y'all have a groovy day. Later, taters.